Hello everyone, you are on the channel, Who Created It and How? Today, we're diving into a question that shapes every moment of our lives. Who invented the clock? It seems like such a simple question, but the answer is a fascinating journey that spans thousands of years and countless brilliant minds. The story of timekeeping isn't about one single inventor, but a long, winding road of innovation. So let's turn back the hands of time way back to ancient civilizations. Long before gears and batteries, our ancestors were natural timekeepers. They looked to the sky. The rising and setting of the sun gave them day and night. The phases of the moon helped them track months, and the changing seasons guided them through the year. These were the first calendars, the very first clocks. The ancient Egyptians around 1500 BC took this a step further. They wanted to divide the day itself. So, they invented shadow clocks, or what we might call sundials. Imagine a simple T-shaped obelisk. As the sun moved across the sky, the shadow cast by the obelisk would fall on different markings indicating the hour. It was ingenious, but it had one major flaw. What happens when the sun goes down, or on a cloudy day? The sundial was useless. Clearly, humanity needed a way to tell time in the dark. This need for 24/7 timekeeping led to the invention of the water clock, also known as the clepsydra. The Greeks and Romans perfected this device. It was essentially a stone container with a small hole at the bottom, allowing water to drip out at a constant rate. As the water level dropped, it revealed markings on the inside of the container, showing how much time had passed. Some water clocks were incredibly elaborate, with bells and moving figures that would mark the hour. This was a huge leap forward because it worked day or night, rain or shine. For the first time was no longer solely dependent on the sun. For centuries, water clocks and sundials were the best technology available. But they still had their problems. Water could freeze in the winter, and evaporation could affect its accuracy in the summer. People needed something more reliable, something more mechanical. The big breakthrough came in the Middle Ages, right around the end of the 13th century in Europe. This is where we see the birth of the first mechanical clocks. Now, if you're looking for a single name, a Thomas Edison of the clock, you're out of luck. The invention was more of a collaborative evolution among monks and craftsmen. Why monks? Well, monasteries were places of strict routine and prayer schedules. Monks needed to wake up for prayers at specific times, even in the dead of night. Water clocks were okay, but a mechanical alarm was better. These early mechanical clocks were colossal iron-framed contraptions, often housed in church towers. They didn't even have faces or hands. Their only job was to strike a bell at the appointed hour to call people to prayer or to mark the workday. They were powered by heavy weights attached to ropes which would slowly descend and turn a series of gears. The most crucial part of these early clocks was a mechanism called the verge and foliot. This was the very first mechanical escapement. Think of it as the clock's heartbeat. It was a clever system that would catch and release the energy from the falling weights in a series of small regular ticks. This ticking is what controlled the speed of the gears. It wasn't very accurate. These clocks might lose or gain 15 to 30 minutes a day. But it was a revolutionary concept. For the first time, timekeeping was being controlled by a man-made oscillating machine, not by the flow of water or the movement of a shadow. For the next 300 years, clockmakers tinkered with the verge and foliot design, making clocks smaller and slightly more accurate. Clocks began to appear in town squares and eventually, wealthy homes. But the next giant leap in accuracy wouldn't happen until the 17th century, thanks to a familiar name in the world of science, Galileo Galilei. As the story goes, Galileo was in a cathedral in Pisa when he noticed a chandelier swinging back and forth. Using his own pulse to time it, he discovered something incredible. Whether the chandelier was swinging in a wide arc or a small one, each swing took the same amount of time. This principle is called isochronism, and it's the key to the pendulum. Galileo realized that a pendulum could be used to regulate a clock with unprecedented accuracy. He drew up designs for a pendulum clock, but he was old and blind by then and sadly passed away before he could build it. It was a Dutch scientist, Christian Huygens, who picked up where Galileo left off. In 1656, Huygens designed and built the first practical pendulum clock. This was a game changer. Suddenly, clocks went from being off by 15 minutes a day to being accurate to within 15 seconds a day. This incredible new precision changed everything. It was so revolutionary that many older clocks were retrofitted with pendulums. Huygens also gave us the minute hand. Before this, clocks were so inaccurate that a minute hand was pointless. Now time could be chopped up into much finer slices. The pendulum clock was fantastic, but it had one limitation. It had to stay perfectly still. You couldn't exactly put a giant swinging pendulum on a ship tossing in the ocean waves. And this was a huge problem. In the age of exploration, sailors desperately needed to know the exact time to calculate their longitude at sea. Getting it wrong could mean getting lost, shipwrecked, and worse. Governments offered huge prizes for anyone who could solve the longitude problem. The challenge was to create a portable clock that was as accurate as a pendulum clock. This is where an English carpenter and self-taught clockmaker named John Harrison enters the story. Harrison dedicated his entire life to this problem. He realized that the key was to create a clock that could withstand the motion of a ship and changes in temperature and humidity. Instead of a pendulum, he used a system of fast-beating, counter-oscillating balance springs that canceled out the effects of motion. After decades of relentless work, he created his masterpiece, the H4 Marine Chronometer. In a transatlantic voyage in 1761, it performed brilliantly, losing only 5 seconds over 81 days. It was an astonishing achievement that saved countless lives and changed maritime navigation forever. Harrison had conquered the sea with time. From there, the evolution of the clock sped up. The 19th and 20th centuries brought mass production. Clocks became smaller, cheaper, and found their way into every home. Pocket watches became a gentleman's essential accessory. Then came the wristwatch, popularized by soldiers in World War I who needed a hands-free way to check the time. The next major revolution was the shift away from mechanical movements entirely. In the 1920s, the quartz clock was invented. This used a battery to send an electric current through a tiny, tuning fork-shaped quartz crystal, causing it to vibrate at an incredibly precise frequency, exactly 32,268 times per second. This vibration was then used to drive a digital display or motor. Quartz clocks were 1,000 times more accurate than mechanical ones and much cheaper to produce. This technology is what powers most of the clocks and watches we use today. But humanity's quest for precision didn't stop there. The most accurate timekeepers on the planet are atomic clocks. First built in 1949, they don't use a pendulum or a vibrating crystal. They use the natural, consistent vibration of atoms themselves, specifically cesium atoms. An atomic clock is so mind-bogglingly accurate that it won't lose or gain a single second in over 100 million years. This is the technology that underpins our modern world, running everything from the GPS in your phone to the global financial markets and the internet itself. So who invented the clock? The answer is everyone. It was the Egyptian who first watched a shadow creep across the sand. It was the Greek who watched water drip from a jar. It was the medieval monk who needed to wake for prayers. It was Galileo, Huygens, and Harrison. It was the thousands of unnamed artisans and engineers who have refined and perfected timekeeping over millennia. The clock wasn't just invented, it evolved. It's a testament to human ingenuity, our relentless desire to understand, measure, and control our world 1 second at a time. Thanks for joining us on this incredible journey through time. If you enjoyed this video and want to learn more about the history of everyday things, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to Who Created It and How. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. See you in the next video.